What is good everyone, Pica here, debuting my very first Call of Duty mobile video. In this video, we are going to discuss the past season that I played, the current season, past, existing, and potential future meta, people who helped me out in my journey, and a lot more. So, let's hit it. We are currently in Season 8 of the Battle Pass and Season 5 in Ranked. Now, Call of Duty Mobile has a new theme that they're adhering by, namely the Forge. It is without question that this theme right here has already gotten off to a good start, and a lot of the players have been getting their share of the Battle Pass rewards as well as the free-to-play weapons. But first, let's look back at how Season 7 was like, at least for me. Starting with my weapon of choice. Having played Call of Duty Mobile only for about 4 months, I have learned to love the MSMC. I realized that it was once a meta, but not anymore. Regardless whether it was the meta or not, I've really had a thing for Uzis, the MSMC being the stable one. I was never really too particular with gun skins. However, the Wasteland MSMC for this season just really caught my attention. I was never really one to follow the meta, even in my original game. However, for Call of Duty Mobile, there is one gun that really caught my attention, namely the RUS-79U. At least for the submachine guns. The M4, however, has always been my favorite assault rifle. It was hardly a meta, and I believed that it needed a buff when it first came out. And it did. But that's not the only one. Despite being a highly selective assault rifle, the M16 has always been one of my favorites. However, to me, that's not the true dark horse. The HG40 submachine gun has always been an interesting weapon for me. Not many people see the actual strength of this gun. The HG40 did help me a lot during my grind to Legendary back in Season 7. It stands out in a lot of areas like damage, accuracy, and mobility, with the exception of the fire rate being slower than most submachine guns. I did put a red dot sight on this submachine gun back in Season 7 because it does have decent range and accuracy compared to the other submachine guns. I believe that this weapon has a huge advantage, especially when the enemies are all clustered in one position and at a distance. Surely a lot of weapons outclass the HG40, but not to say it cannot deal damage. As I showed earlier, the M16 is another favorite of mine. With a very deadly 3-shot burst that can kill almost instantly, great range, decent mobility, and a normal clip size of 30 rounds, the M16 is definitely a weapon that people have found to be underrated. Of course, unlike the other rifles, there is a certain gap between your shots given that the M16 is a burst weapon. But should you be able to control the flow of this weapon, even in hipfire, this is a very deadly assault rifle that you should not turn your back on. I personally want an extended mag on the M16, as well as a foregrip and a red dot sight, possibly a stock so I can be more mobile. And of course, a lightweight perk. While I wasn't able to use this as often as the HG40 during the last season, it's always fun to get my hands on this burst god. Speaking of godly, the RUS-79U has always been a very reliable weapon to this day. There was a time that this weapon was at the very top of the tier list. Naturally, it did receive some nerfs along the way. However, that did not stop a lot of players from using the gun. Myself included. I never knew how good this gun was. I just really loved the aesthetics of the RUS. The reality is the RUS was outshined by other submachine guns throughout the past seasons. But because of its accuracy, decent fire rate, mobility, damage, and overall versatility, the RUS has remained on top of people's lists. This in reality is the most meta gun I had in my loadout in the past season. While there was a time that I had doubts regarding the performance of the M4, I never stopped liking this weapon's aesthetics. If you're just starting Call of Duty Mobile, you will know that the M4 is your very first weapon. Getting into Ranked, however, I saw the flaws that made this weapon a little bit inferior compared to the other assault rifles. From the very start, the M4 has been known to be notoriously accurate. The recent buff of giving the M4 a faster fire rate has made it slightly more viable in close-range fights. This is something I really wished for. My second favorite aesthetic AR, however, is the LK24. This is an absolute meta gun. But it wasn't always that way. Seeing now that the LK24 is so similar to the KN44, it has become one of the most popular ARs. And speak of the powerhouse itself, the KN44 is one AR that I did try to see what the fuss was all about. And while I do not hate the weapon, I have to admit that it is indeed a very powerful gun. As previously mentioned, it is very identical to the LK24. The crazy accuracy, great damage, decent mobility make the KN44, according to some, the best weapon in Call of Duty Mobile. But of course, yours truly's heart belongs to the MSMC. Although I was not able to experience the peak performance of this weapon, it does not change the fact that this is indeed my favorite submachine gun and/or weapon inside Call of Duty Mobile. Despite its changes in accuracy, the MSMC still does have a very decent time to kill. For a brief season, however, it was outshined by the Pharaoh. With an absolutely shredding rate of fire, great mobility, decent clip size, and of course, awesome aesthetics, the biggest flaw of the MSMC are long-range gunfights. But with the proper control of the recoil, the MSMC again is a very destructive weapon despite its size. And yours truly will continue to use this weapon, meta or not. Speaking of meta guns, there were a handful of weapons that became the most sought-after killers during those last two seasons. That, however, is not my focus. The BY-15 shotgun has always been my frustration gun since day one. I honestly did not know how to use that weapon in ranked up until the end of Season 6. So I spent a lot of time learning the BY-15. However, being a guy who strays away from the meta, I found unusual success with the HS-0405. For those of you who may be unaware, the HS-0405 has been dubbed the worst shotgun inside Call of Duty Mobile, at least to some. What people don't see, however, is its astonishing killing potential. The HS-0405 can kill anybody who comes across its crosshair with just one hit. It has a few weaknesses though. Number one is the very slow fire rate. Compared to the BY-15, the intervals between shots take so long. Another is the fact that it has really short range. It also has a very little clip size. To make up for all of those is of course its one-hit kill potential. Shotguns, as many may know, have very good mobility. This is one factor about the HS-0405 that I really find pleasing. With decent movement, proper range measurement, and of course, great aim, the HS-0405 can definitely be a very dangerous weapon. To simplify how good the gun is, think of it as a point-blank DLQ-33, taking out, of course, the range advantage. This, I would say, is the most out-of-meta weapon that I've used and still use to this day. My personal loadout for the HS-0405 would be the long barrel, fast reload, and the laser sight. That being said, the HS-0405 is my most fulfilling achievement for Season 7. It was in Season 6 when I first reached Legendary for both multiplayer and Battle Royale. While I'm more inclined towards the former, I did enjoy a little bit of Battle Royale here and there. Despite mostly being in solo queue, I cannot deny the fact that I of course have friends who also want to join in on the action. And vice versa for me. Check out these gameplay clips of these friends that I've been talking about. This is just the beginning of my Call of Duty mobile journey. I have always been a huge first-person shooter guy. And while this is not my main game, I will certainly do my best to improve at this little by little. And of course, to not lose my share of fun. I mean, I downloaded this for fun, right? To that special person who made me do it, you know who you are, and thank you. Did you enjoy this clip? Any suggestions, recommendations, comments? Feel free to leave them down below, and I'll do my best to attend to them as quickly as possible. We have a long way to go, soldiers. What's in store for us these coming seasons? Let's find out. Don't forget to keep the community strong and always stay positive. See you, and on to the next one.